This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
Well, as the legendary Fred Rogers used to say, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and a beautiful day to talk agriculture, actually. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our home away from home, the Georgia Farm Monitor. I'm Ray DeLessio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. Glad to have you along for the next 30 minutes. Coming up, the Monitor sits down with Georgia Department of Revenue Commissioner Lynn Riley. How does the state monitor all the activity in the gate card program? Riley gives us a breakdown and responds to some of the negative reports on the program.
Also on the show, Marcia Crowley and her favorite recipe for making strawberry shortcake. You don't want to miss this.
And then later, take a trip with us to Tift County, Georgia, to see how the equine industry is not only benefiting the state's economy, but enriching people's lives as well. These stories and much more starting right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Now in its third year of existence, by definition, the Georgia Agricultural Tax Exemption, aka the GATE program, was designed to offer qualified ag producers a sales tax exemption on ag equipment and production inputs. The program, however, has its share of critics and has even been the target of various media outlets who have questioned its validity and its compliance by gate card holders. Recently, the Monitor sat down with Georgia Department of Revenue Commissioner Lynn Riley to get her thoughts on these reports and hear exactly how the department goes about making sure everyone is staying in compliance. I want to start by having you address some of the reports regarding the gate card program. I mean, in my opinion, a number of them way off base. They make it sound like the gate card program is not supervised. They make it sound like a free-for-all, which in fact it is supervised. You even have auditors out there. Talk about the auditors that work with the Department of Revenue, how many they are, and actually what their job entails with the Department of Revenue.
Well, we do have 2 auditors that are specifically tasked with looking at gate card compliance. However, all of our audit team that are out looking at any taxpayer in Georgia may come across a gate card holder and will use their time and talents to look into that situation as well. So it's not just 2 professionals from the Department of Revenue. We have a number that are looking into ensuring that compliance is being met with our gate card program.
Well, some people watching this, they would say to themselves, well, even if you had 4 or 10, there's like 30,000 plus gate card holders in the state of Georgia. How are you able to monitor all those gate cards?
Well, like all of our tax programs in Georgia, we're a voluntary compliance state. So we rely very heavily on the honor and trust that we have in our taxpayers to perform according to law. However, when we see evidence of problems in compliance, then that's where we will focus our auditors' attention. We hear anecdotal information from folks out in the industry, and when they share that information with us, that's where we'll focus our efforts.
And when these auditors, Commissioner, are looking for infractions, are they looking for infractions specifically from the gate card holders themselves? Are they looking at the retailers? Is it the retailer's responsibility to actually keep these records for these auditors to look at, or how's that work?
Well, actually, everyone's responsible. If you're a gate card holder, you're required to keep adequate records to prove that you're entitled to any exemptions you take in the gate card program. If you are a merchant and sell to someone, you're required to have that person provide a copy of their gate card, and you are responsible for keeping records to ensure that anything you sell exempt from sales tax is eligible. So either the purchaser or the merchant selling a transaction that may be exempt from tax under the gate card program is responsible to keep the records to prove that that's a valid transaction.
Right. Now, let's say hypothetically I'm a producer. I have a pretty good idea I'm going to get audited, okay? There's so much fraud going on out there and so many scams nowadays. It's so hard to keep track of which one is which. If I'm a producer and I have a pretty good idea that I'm going to get audited, how is the Department of Revenue, how are they going to contact me? Are they going to contact me through email? Is it going to be a knock at my door? Is it a knock at my business? For the people watching this, to assure them that, this is actually us that's contacting you, what would you say to that?
You'll receive a letter in the mail, and you'll receive in that letter contact information personnel from the Department of Revenue. An auditor from the Department of Revenue will not show up unannounced. A merchant or a purchaser will receive communications via U.S. mail notifying them that they are potentially a subject of an audit, and contact information will be provided so that they can reach back to the Department of Revenue to confirm that.
You mentioned the records that the gate card holders have. What kind of records should they actually keep?
Well, like you would in any of your business transactions, keep very thorough records, because you're always going to be required in an audit to substantiate any deductions you take. So, be smart at the beginning. Always be very careful that you put adequate record-keeping protocols in place when you start a business, and then maintain and store all of your receipts, all of anything that will justify your ability to take an exemption. The gate card is a very good program. It was enacted intentionally to provide some relief to the agricultural industry so that they could be more productive and benefit our economy as well as their own personal businesses. We're very grateful for those that are following the rule of law and adhering and complying. They are taking advantage of a great opportunity for them to enrich their business, and by that enriching Georgia's economy. We're very grateful. For those that choose not to comply, we will do what we can as the Department of Revenue to make sure that we find you and audit you and bring you into compliance. We don't want you to disrespect the other taxpayers in Georgia that do follow the law.
Yeah, huge thanks to Commissioner Riley for taking the time to speak with us. Now, hopefully this answers any questions or concerns you may have about the GATE program. If not, you can find all the info you need by logging on to gfb.org/gate. What qualifies as an exemption, that's there in detail. Any forms you may need, contact numbers, it's all there. Again, that is gfb.org/gate.
Well, moving on now, planting season is officially upon us as farmers are out in their fields getting ready for the new year. And as always, Mother Nature will have a major impact on when and how long that process will take.
Yeah, David Jones recently spoke with UGA climatologist Pam Knox and tells you what to expect in the coming months.
Whether it's corn, cotton, peanuts, or anything in between, farmers are hard at work getting their fields ready for the upcoming planting season. And just like any other year, the weather will pose major challenges. And this year, it's been a recent lack of rain.
And so, but that dryness has brought in some abnormally dry conditions to parts of Georgia. And I think that's somewhat of a concern for farmers if they're worried about germination and things like that. And so, we're hoping that that doesn't continue, because obviously if it would continue, it would be worse during the active part of the growing season.
However, don't look for this dry spell to continue, as models show rain and lots of it in the upcoming weeks. Well, that's good news for the soil conditions. It might also create another problems farmers had to deal with last season: delayed planting.
But the short-term forecast for April and then the forecast looking at April through June both indicate that we're likely to see above normal rainfall. It's kind of a two-edged sword. We need the rain, but if it rains all the time, it makes it hard for the farmers to get into the fields, and that's going to slow things up for planting. So I think that's a real issue.
And the reason for that is an El Niño system this spring, which will not only provide rain, but also cooler temperatures.
The rain is probably going to happen because of the El Niño, which was declared about a month ago. And typically in an El Niño winter and on into spring, Georgia, especially southern Georgia, is wetter than usual, and usually also a little bit cooler, just because the clouds tend to keep the temperatures down a little bit.
So with that in mind, Knox suggests the farmers plan ahead and look for small breaks in precipitation to get their planting done on time.
The rainfall looks good. As long as they can find that window, they have to be ready to jump on good conditions and get out into the field and plant where they can.
Once the planting is done, a dramatic shift in temperatures could have an effect on the crop. However, that's not a scenario Knox thinks is very likely.
We don't really see any cold coming back to the state, not a big outbreak like we had earlier this year. And that's a hopeful sign, because you don't want to plant and then have it get cold and have those seeds just sit in the ground.
As for the long-term forecast, farmers can expect to see another hot summer. While that might not make things comfortable for them in the fields, it is good news for their crop.
We do know that there has been a long-term trend in the summer towards warmer temperatures, and so NOAA is predicting that trend is likely to continue. In other words, we may see a little warmer than average temperatures over the summer. That's not necessarily a bad thing either, because that means things will tend to ripen a little bit quicker, develop a little bit more.
Reporting from Watkinsville, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Well, still to come on the Monitor, horse lovers. You're going to want to stick around to see Mark Wildman's report on the equine industry in Georgia and the impact it's having on people.
Oh, but first, after the break, an entire segment dedicated to strawberries. Meals from the field and strawberry shortcake, plus Kenny's report on how Mother Nature has affected a U-pick operation in Upson County. All this when the Monitor continues. Stay with us. Well, if you haven't guessed by now, strawberry season is officially here. These strawberries, courtesy of Daisy Adams Farm in Cochran, Georgia, a GFB certified farmers market. Give them a call, 478-271-5931, or check them out on the web at daisyadamsfarm.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Georgia Farm Monitor and to another edition of Meals from the Field. Joining me as always is our home economist specialist, Marcia Crowley. So good to see you again.
Good to see you, Ray.
And we're doing one of my favorites today, strawberry shortcake.
Hard to beat it.
Short guys like me, we like strawberry shortcake. And we want to start off with a little history lesson about strawberry shortcake, and you've actually done some research on this.
I have done some. We always think of this as a Southern classic, which it is, but the first record of a strawberry shortcake recipe was in an English cookbook in 1588.
Wow.
So it's been around a while.
All right, and there's going to be a test at the end of this segment,
exactly
so
right.
Remember that, 1588.
1588.
Well, what do we have here? And everything seems pretty easy to make, something even I can make.
It's very easy. This is, we're going to make a shortcake, and it's not what you think of when you buy the little pre-made shortcakes in the grocery store. It's more of a typical shortbread shortcake. This is a baking mix. We used Jiffy. We're going to add to that a half a cup of whipping cream, 3 tablespoons of melted shortening.
Oh. Was it melted?
Well, it was melted. And
So remember, that just has to be
tablespoons
melted.
And 2 tablespoons of sugar.
Okay.
And you're just basically combining all of this, and you can either knead it, roll it out on a floured surface, or you can do drop style, like a drop biscuit.
Okay.
We did the rollout. We've done both. They both taste exactly the same, obviously. All right, and you're going to bake that at 450 for about 10 minutes, but you need to watch it because they're thin and you don't want them to overcook.
All right.
All right, now I'm going to get you started on the homemade whipping cream. Do we dare?
Yes.
Okay, everything with homemade whipping cream, the trick is everything has to be really cold.
You really trust me with this?
Well, not right this second.
And I promise you, I will not try to lick the blades while it's
Please don't.
Yes. I'm not that
I'm going to pour
crazy.
a cup of heavy whipping cream in a chilled bowl. Actually, the best way to do this is put it in the freezer. All right, I'm going to let you start mixing that.
Now?
Now.
Now?
Yeah, put that in there first.
No, okay.
Turn it all the way up. There you go.
I'm going to start
all the way up.
Oh, look at that.
All right, you're going to whip this to soft peaks. So you're going to do that just a little bit. While you're doing that, this is just strawberries that you're going to put on top. You put like 2 tablespoons of sugar in there and let that sit for maybe an hour, and it will form a little syrup and sweeten the strawberries, although I'm sure these are sweet enough you don't need sugar. But you let that sit for a little bit while Ray's still whipping over there.
I'm whipping
Like I said, the key to homemade whipped cream is to make everything cold, including the beaters, the bowl, the whipping cream. And I don't know what the trick is, but that's what I swear by anyway. And this whipping cream is so much better than what you could buy in the store.
How am I doing?
You're doing excellent.
Can I stop now or is it more?
Nope, keep going.
Okay.
All right, if you were doing this at home, since we don't have all that time, we're going to add 1/4 cup of sugar.
Watch your fingers.
I know. Well, here, I'm going to have to use my fingers. There, keep going,
There you
keep
go.
going, keep going. Keep whipping that. And you don't want to do this too far ahead, maybe 20, 30 minutes before.
Wow, that like gets thick really quick.
Yeah, no, doesn't it? All right, and a little bit over there. And then a teaspoon of vanilla. Keep whipping that. You're doing really good, Ray. You haven't even injured anybody yet.
No, I haven't hurt myself. That's good.
And then you would obviously put the strawberries on the shortcake and dollop it with homemade whipped cream.
Wow.
You'll never buy the stuff again.
And that's it?
That's it.
That's it.
Isn't that easy?
And I didn't hurt myself.
And you didn't hurt yourself.
Now can I lick the blades?
Now you can lick the blades.
Awesome. Well, I'll do that. I'll do it off camera. I don't want to gross everybody
But
out.
this is a really good, especially since strawberries are in season, Mother's Day is coming up, a very special dessert, and you see how hard it is to do.
Once again, folks, easy, simple recipe. You can find all the info you need by logging on to gfb.org/recipes. Everything is in there in detail for you. Again, strawberry shortcake created in 1588.
That's exactly right.
Remember
you got
that?
it. You
I
passed
got
the
it. All right.
test.
Marsha, so good to see you
Thank
again.
you, Ray.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And we'll
you.
see you next month.
See you.
Wow, Ray and Marsha, that looks great. Good job as always. Well, as they mentioned, springtime brings the arrival of many things across Georgia. Warmer weather, blooming flowers, and a chance to get out in the fields and pick ripe strawberries at least most of the time. This spring, some areas in the state have received a lot of rain, and that has played a role in strawberry yields at one central Georgia location. Typically at this point in April, you'd be looking at a lot of these sweet, juicy red berries. But this year is different.
Yes, the late cold snap hurt, and as well as we had a small hailstorm come through, and we had a little bit of hail damage to our crop. So we are recovering from this slowly and look forward to a productive season.
In Upson County at the Sweet South Strawberry Farm, Marcus and Neely South are ready to start picking the berries, but the berries aren't ready to be picked. That's been due to limited sunshine and a late cold snap that happened in March.
And you know, it stung some of the blooms. We tried to cover what we could, and one of the issues right now we're dealing with is just the berries that are ready to come off. You know, they do not like this wet weather. I mean, it's just a thing that we have to struggle with. You know, trying to keep down any mold or anything, and you try to keep your spraying down to a minimum. You know, not have to spray no more fungicide than you have to, but you know, you just have to deal with them things and do that.
This is the fourth year the roadside market will be active, and Neely said the first 3 years were very valuable learning experiences.
It has been wonderful. The first year was definitely a learning curve for us. We have learned something new every year, but the most enjoyable part of this is having people come to your farm to see what you do, to talk to them about agriculture and your passion for agriculture and what it really means, and getting them to see where their fruit and fiber comes from.
Well, despite the weather, one thing the couple told me that has helped them navigate the wet spring is the advice and encouragement from others involved with the Georgia Farm Bureau. They both said the relationships have been a major benefit to their operation by networking.
Come through Farm Bureau, you know, it's how we learn how to do it. Is just the connections we've had through Farm Bureau. Just kind of like Zippy said, you know, you got to get outside your fences, and that's what we've done. And created all kinds of friendship. You know, just I think lifelong friends. You know, through Farm Bureau, and that's where we learned. You know, strawberry. 'Cause I knew nothing about strawberries. You know, and just learning from others. You know, and.
Oh, the relationships that we have formed through other young farmers all over the state is priceless to me. They're like an extended arm to our family. Questions that we have, encouragement on a season like this. It's nice to know that others, are facing the same situations that we face day to day, but they also give that encouragement, and we encourage one another. And Farm Bureau has really helped plug us into that. Marcus and I always say our only regret getting involved was getting regret later in life. We wish we had gotten involved much younger.
Well, for more information on roadside markets in your area selling strawberries, visit our website. It's www.gfb.org. After the break, if you're thinking about buying a horse, you may decide to buy 2 or 3 after you see this report. That's next when the Georgia Farm Monitor continues.
Farmville, Virginia, in the rural center of the state, is a rustic setting for Longwood University. But that location is not without challenges.
We have significant energy challenges here at Longwood. Being in a very rural area, the sources for energy are down. The closest natural gas pipeline is about 45 miles from here. So realistically, we're down to two sources. We're either fuel oil or we're biomass. We've chosen biomass.
Biomass, in this case sawdust from local sawmills, is a renewable resource and an alternative to fossil fuels.
We're using sawdust for about 85 to 90% of all of our needs. The biomass program here at Longwood University really is a win-win, and it's a green energy.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Development Agency is supporting this project with a grant to help Longwood operate its new biomass facility, and that is helping to generate local economic activity.
Right now, all of our energy sources are coming from the local sawmills, and our energy dollars are going into south side of Virginia and not going overseas. We've been fortunate to have USDA provide us grant support to where we can develop new ideas, to develop the fuel management system for hot water and heat during the wintertime.
In addition to spending their energy dollars locally, Longwood University officials say they're spending fewer of those dollars on fuel.
We're saving close to $5 million a year by using the biomass product rather than fuel oil, and it's good for the planet.
In Farmville, Virginia, for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I'm Pat O'Leary.
Well, finally today, it's not uncommon to find horses on many farms around Georgia. Horses, of course, make great companion animals, but more importantly, the equine industry also makes a noticeable contribution to the state's economy.
Yeah, the Monitor's Mark Wildman visited with one horse owner in Tift County to discuss some of the ways horses enrich people's lives and the communities around them.
Saddling up your horse is as American as apple pie. And just outside of Tifton, Tift County Farm Bureau President Gary Walker has been raising horses on his farm for a long time. He enjoys the freedom they give him as he trots down the road. He enjoys the beauty of seeing them graze in the pasture. And he enjoys the way this industry supports the state's economy.
I've been horse crazy about all my life. Started off with my first one when I was probably 10 years old, and talked my daddy into buying me a horse that was actually bred, and she had a colt. I raised that one and just been hooked on it ever since.
Horse owners take pride in caring for their animals, and they take pride in supporting their local communities.
You got your feed stores, your tack, horse, and you know, if you've got horses, you've probably got a horse trailer. You got to have something to pull it with. There's a lot of money spent on horses for whether it's trail riding or competition.
As chairman of the Georgia Farm Bureau's Equine Advisory Committee, Gary works to promote the equine industry. One way the committee does that is by raising awareness of the good things the horse industry does in Georgia. Every year in Georgia, numerous horse shows and competitions are held. Events for youth riders are held, and just good old trail rides are enjoyed, which all adds to the industry's value. In 2012, a study was released using 2010 data that revealed the equine industry in Georgia contributed approximately $868.7 million to the state's economy and accounted for 6,500 jobs. The data also stated that approximately 173,000 Georgians own horses, and they spend around $32,000 on supplies. Even though owning horses can be expensive, most horse owners will tell you it is money well spent.
There's just something that's a little bit magical, I reckon, about having your hands on a horse. I mean, and you see that, I mean, you can take a horse somewhere where people don't have horses and not around horses. First thing they want to do, they want to come up and put their hands on them. I mean, it's like a magnet, I guess. It draws you to them, but, and I enjoy riding them. I mean, I enjoy being, you know, winning the horse. I mean, there's a feeling of accomplishment whenever you've got a good horse that you can ride, and it's just hard to describe.
In Tift County, I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, Mark, great job. Unfortunately, we're out of time.
Now take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.